Who killed JFK? It's one of the biggest questions of the 20th century, and now someone has revealed a whole new twist in the tale. The assassination of President John F. Kennedy on November 22, 1963 marked one of the defining moments of 20th century American history. Kennedy's murder was one of those time-stopping news stories. Pretty much everyone who was alive at the time can remember just where they were when they heard the news that the president had been shot.
President Kennedy has been assassinated. It's official now. The president is dead.
The nation was gripped as news broke that the security services had apprehended the gunman, ex-Marine Lee Harvey Oswald, who had apparently fired more than one round from the window of the nearby Texas schoolbook depository. However, Oswald was shot and killed before his trial, meaning he never met justice or made his exact motives known on the stand. Ever since, the nation has been divided as to what exactly happened that day and who was responsible, and the findings of the subsequent Warren Commission continue to be scrutinized even today. Over the years, countless conspiracy theorists have studied the footage, talked to eyewitnesses, and examined the location firsthand. And while many versions of what actually happened that day have since emerged, none have successfully supplanted the official explanation that Kennedy was murdered by the deranged Oswald who was acting alone. But in September 2023, a new detail emerged from ex-Secret Service agent Paul Landis, a witness who has arguably challenged the official interpretation of JFK's assassination. Landis was in his late 20s when he was assigned to protect the Kennedys as their motorcade drove through the streets of Dallas. He was positioned on the running board of the trailing security vehicle directly behind the president and first lady, and was therefore one of the closest witnesses to the shooting as it unfolded. He was also one of the first people to rush toward Kennedy after he was shot. Landis left the Secret Service soon after the assassination, relocating from Washington and moving on with his life. Apart from two written reports he gave to the Warren Commission in the aftermath, he has remained largely silent regarding what he witnessed that day. That was until 2023, however, when at the age of 88, Landis released a memoir that revealed some previously unknown details. In his memoir, Landis states that after the motorcade sped the fatally wounded president to the hospital, the agent discovered a bullet jutting out of the seat where Kennedy had been shot. In what seems to have been a reflex action, Landis pocketed the bullet. Later, when he went indoors to view the president's body, he placed it on the gurney right beside Kennedy's foot. According to Landis, the position of the bullet in the car suggested that it had struck Kennedy in the back but failed to enter his body. As noted by Landis collaborator James Robinault, the bullet came from an old World War II rifle, and it is conceivable that it may not have been fully loaded with gunpowder. Robinault claims he is convinced by Landis' testimony, which he thinks is one of the most significant revelations regarding the assassination in over half a century. He told the New York Times, "If what he says is true, which I tend to believe, it is likely to reopen the question of a second shooter. If the bullet we know is the magic or pristine bullet stopped in President Kennedy's back, it means that the central thesis of the Warren Report, the single bullet theory, is wrong. The single bullet theory argues that one bullet hit Kennedy, passed through his body, and struck Governor John B. Connally Jr., causing him multiple injuries. The commission's findings were based on the presence of a bullet found on a stretcher that was believed to have held Connally at the hospital. The commission assumed that emergency services had removed it as they tried to save the governor's life. Landis, however, believes that this bullet was the one he had placed near Kennedy, a theory that arguably opens up the possibility of a second gunman."
I knew I'd picked it up and carried it in and put it on President Kennedy's stretcher.
However, skeptics argue that the length of time that has elapsed since then means Landis' account is probably unreliable. Indeed, no contemporary accounts of the murder or its aftermath place him in the room with the president's body, and Landis' own written reports from the time contradict his later version. Nevertheless, it seems the debate over what happened that day isn't set to end anytime soon.